It is Thursday, November 27th, and you're watching the SIG podcast, Trust the Process. Folks, today we're going to be diving into the CHL versus US NTDP mini tournament. This is a new sort of prospect showcase thingy that they're doing. I'm a big fan of it. I think Snake is as well, and we're going to talk about which players impressed, maybe some who didn't. Later on, we're going to get to the AHL. Okay, we're going to dive in a little bit to the AHL, more specifically the rookies. Okay, which AHL rookies have really stood out and have impressed this season? We got the point totals. We'll bring that up a little later. Afterwards, listen, we're going to give a little bit of a Habs flavor here. Adam Engstrom played his first NHL game last night. We're not going to wait until Monday to talk about it, so we're going to discuss that as well. A little later on, we're going to get to Snake's hot take, and of course, we're going to go digging in the mailbag and answer one of your questions. It's going to be a packed show, but it's going to be a fun show, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the fifth overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shane here, joined as always by my co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
Doing fine, Shane. Doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing good. You know what? I miss being in studio with you. We did this on Monday, and it was such a blast. I enjoyed the hell out of that show, and I can't wait to do it again. And I think our viewers enjoyed it as well. It was a great setup. Of course, the sick team takes no half measures, all right? We full ass everything. No half ass around here, okay? It was fantastic. The setup, the quality was great. We're going to try to do that as often as we can. Of course, logistics sometimes come into play, and you know, one of us is away or can't come into the studio, so we do it remotely. It's fine. This works well as well. But Snake, I think, you know what? It's probably one of the last times we're going to do this. Public service announcement time, all right, for our folks living in Quebec, in the Belle Province. Still haven't bought your winter tires? Time is running out, folks. If you're in Quebec, you have until December 1st to get your tires installed. And as you can see on the screen here, we got good news for you, because you can pick up GT radial tires at Point S Garage starting at $89 per tire. Okay, you visit point-s.ca to shop for GT radial tires or to find your nearest Point S location. And while we're on the topic, I think it's a perfect time to talk about our tune-up of the week.
The tune-up. Presented by Point S and GT Radio.
So the tune-up, for those who maybe have skipped a few shows, it's basically a little segment where we talk about some player or someone who might need to go to Point S and get a little tune-up, right? Now, Snake, this is not my opinion, but judging from the comments from one of our recent clips on Instagram, a lot of people are thinking you need a tune-up for suggesting that Nick Suzuki is not untouchable. What do you respond to those people?
Well, I would respond, listen to the whole episode.
Good point. Good
Okay.
point. Well, base yourself.
Because basically what the exercise we did on Monday was that we were going to discuss every Habs player, age 26 and under, and basically figure out if they were untouchable or tradable for something very good, or basically, well, just trading for anything before he loses value. That was roughly the show.
Exactly.
And I always say that no player is untouchable. And that infuriates fans who probably are very attached to some of their favorite players, which I understand. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I would trade Suzuki. I'm not even saying that I would shop him around, because he has a great contract and he's very durable. Mm-hmm. And that's very important to me. A guy who can play 82 games season after season after season is very important. It's an asset for a team. And he makes, a notch under $8 million, which with the salary cap growing is nothing. He signed for 5-6 years. He's in his prime years. So there's no reason to trade him. But if someone calls you and offers something you can't refuse, why wouldn't you at least listen? I'll give you an example. And perhaps it was a different situation because the guy was becoming an unrestricted free agent. But he's a big superstar. It's Mikko Rantanen. Yeah. How many people in Colorado 2-3 years ago, if they had done the same exercise, would have said, no, he's untouchable. He's untouchable. You got to re-sign him. Well, they didn't want to re-sign him at that price, and they traded him. So I know it's not a perfect comparison with Suzuki, but right. I'm just saying that when we're talking about untouchable players, to me that doesn't exist.
Interesting.
Okay, perhaps Connor McDavid 5 years ago was probably the closest to untouchable because there is no other Connor McDavid in the league. But now that McDavid is 28 years old, he only has 2.5 years left on his contract, then it's a different story. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, I'm interested to hear about that. Yeah. Well, folks, the lesson learned here, okay, is don't base yourself off of one clip. Snake gave a great explanation in Monday's show as to why he doesn't believe there are any untouchables and gave you a little snippet there. Watch the full show. This is a good show. You'll enjoy it, okay? Don't just base yourself off of one clip. And for those who do watch the full show, we thank you. We appreciate you. And the comments were, in most part, great. So we appreciate the love there. And any engagement, really. If you want to say we're stupid, ugly, or whatever, go ahead. Listen, engagement helps us. So just comment. It doesn't, we don't care.
Yeah, but these clips are killing my reputation, All
right. I think you'll be fine. Yeah. Snake, this past week, this week was the much anticipated CHL versus USNTDP mini tournament. It played 2 games, which they split. USNTDP won the first 4-2, and CHL bounced back and won the second 4-3. Now they had to go to a sudden death overtime to determine, I guess, the winner of the little tournament. And Victor Plant won it for the USNTDP. So they end up winning the tournament. Now, before we dive into the players, maybe, from a scout's perspective, kind of explain the value of this kind of event and maybe why, the team results don't really matter, because CHL team is a collection of players that were just brought together this week, whereas USNTDP have been playing together the whole year, right? So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
I know these events are very popular because it's an opportunity for fans, to see all the players on one sheet of ice and 2 nights in a row. It's very interesting because not everyone has time to watch these prospects or, subscribe to certain websites, to watch them. So I understand that it's a great show. What I don't understand is that NHL teams seem to pay a lot of attention to this tournament. And I'll tell you why. I think that, first of all, it was created a couple of years ago because we used to have the CHL prospects game.
Yeah, CHL versus CHL.
Versus CHL. So it was kind of a mix of players. Some players were playing on the same team in junior hockey, but they were facing each other during that game. So although it was intense, it was more of a scrimmage because the players, like you say, are not used to playing together. So the interesting thing is with the CHL USHL game is that the USHL team, which is the USNTDP, is used to playing together.
Yeah.
And they're all draft eligible, almost. There's a couple of guys who will be drafted in 2027, but none of these players were drafted. So I think for them, it's a very good test because in the USHL this year, they're not doing well. So good to see them against Canadian opponents, because the CHL is stronger than the USHL. Yeah. So I think for scouts, when I say it's not interesting, I think it's more like on the CHL part that it's not that interesting. But for the US part, it is interesting because you get to see players again against a stronger opposition. Although the US NTDP, for those who don't know, they play games against college teams also, which is a very, very good benchmark because They're 17-year-old guys playing against 18, 19, 20, 22, 23-year-old guys. They recently played North Dakota, by the way. So I think it's a great program in terms of development. But over the last couple of years, there's not a lot of good players coming out of this. It's sort of a down period for them. So I was kind of surprised that they did so well this week, because last year they were totally smacked by the CHL. Now, what does it do to? I think the CHL team was not as good this year because a lot of there's not as many good draft eligible players this year than last year. And also, it seems to me that some players underperformed in that compared with how they usually perform on their junior team.
Yeah.
So that's why the US NTDP was able to win a game and then, win the sudden death. But look, let's keep the event going. If you're going to have like one prospects game or two prospects games, this is the one.
Yeah, that's it.
It's very good. The USHL has other good draft eligible players, but these guys usually go to other tournaments. They go to the Linka tournament in August, and some of them will be at the in Trois-Rivières in about 10 days for the World Junior A tournament. So I like the way the US is managing all this, honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that because they don't have like great players right now that it's a bad program or anything. I think it's good. Some people have asked, should the CHL do the same thing? Put all the best 17-year-old Quebec Maritimes players on one team and have them face the rest of the league. Look, there's a lot of changes going on in minor hockey right now. Who knows if it'll happen one day? I don't know if it would be good or not for junior hockey, but in the USHL, it kind of works. They've been part of it for many, many years. So that's my assessment of the whole thing. You want to talk about some players, perhaps?
I think that's really the whole meat and potatoes of this, because mostly for the CHL side of things, really you're keying in on individual performances. You're not expecting a cohesive team or good passing plays. Sometimes you'll get good passing plays, but there's not much chemistry, right? And it's to be expected. So you want individual standouts, right? And that's, I guess, the main takeaway from this tournament. So who from the CHL team first really impressed you the most?
I think I'm going to go with obviously I'm a little bit biased because I have seen those players this year. So my opinion of what I think of them up to a couple of days ago and the games, you sort of have to blend it somehow. But I'm going to try and focus on the games. I don't think there's any CHL player that really stood out to the point that you're thinking, okay, his draft stock is rising like crazy because of that game. Just like Matthew Schaefer last year. Matthew Schaefer was absolutely unbelievable. So there is no Matthew Schaefer this year.
No.
But there's a pair of defensemen that I like, Xavier Villeneuve from Boisvert and Ryan Lynn from Vancouver. They were the top pairing, and I think they had a pretty good tournament. Villeneuve does things with the puck that a lot of players can't do, and that's why he's been compared to Lane Hudson because of the way he plays. There's also another defenseman, a good two-way defenseman that I like, Carson Corrales. I think he could sneak into the top 10 of the draft. Not necessarily the most spectacular guy, but a good offensive player whose defensive game is very mature. So I think on the defensive side of it, overall it was okay. On the offensive side, I was a little bit disappointed about certain players. The Ryan Rubrek and guys like that were not, at the top of their game. Although we had a discussion about Rubrek I think he is really, really. He's probably like sliding in the rankings right now. JP Herbert, who played for CHL, is an American player, but he came to play in the CHL. Isn't he the leading scorer in the West, or very close to being at the top of the the scoring list. Didn't show much. He's an undersized guy, and right now he's seen as a potential late first round pick. So we'll see about him. Nikita Klepov also, who's been very, very good this year, hasn't been great in those 2 games. One guy I liked, there's a couple of guys I like. Manny Malotra's son, Caleb Malotra. Yeah. He was good. He had a nice shorthanded goal. I think this is a guy who could climb up the rankings. Also, he's going to be a first round pick, top 15. I'm pretty sure. And a guy from Quebec who was highly touted when he was drafted number 1 overall in the midget draft, QM-JHL draft last year, Maddox Dagenet, Pierre's son. He hasn't been putting points on the board as much this year, but he was very, very good in those games because this is a guy who shows skills and toughness. Yeah. And this is the type of guy who could be a sleeper in next year's draft. If he slips into the second round or something, he could be a major sleeper because I think he's falling under the radar because last year he was injured and this year he's not producing as much as some people thought, but he is a sneaky good player, NHL style, really NHL style. But on the U.S. side, not a great team. Sammy Nelson's a very good player, but he's eligible in 2027. But I'll give you my, every year I'm always looking for a player who I think will outplay his rank of selection. So, I had Trevor Connolly a couple of years ago. I had Quentin Musty, guys like that. And Zarovsky, even last year, who I thought was going to be much better than, the 34th overall player guy. Wyatt Cullen. Wyatt Cullen in the first game was the best player on the ice, I think. Yeah. And yesterday he was injured, unfortunately. But Wyatt Cullen was injured and has only played a few games this year. He only came back to the U.S. program a few weekends ago. And I think this guy, he's Matt Cullen's son, for those who remember this guy, Matt Cullen's son. And he was 5'8" last year. So, okay, as a 5'8" skill player, because if you go on a HockeyDB, you're going to find him at 5'8", listed at 5'8", 152, I think. And last year he was a highly skilled 16-year-old 5'8" player. So what do you make of these guys? You never know. They could be the Brinkat or Caulfield, or they could be just Rocco Grimaldi.
Right.
Yeah. So Cullen's father was 6'1". Okay. It's very rare that a guy whose father is 6'1" will be 5'8". Very rare. And he's now 6 feet tall.
There you go. Wow.
Wyatt Cullen. Yeah.
Sprouted.
Yeah. So I think he gained 9 inches over the last 2-3 years. So he was like 5'3", 5'4" at some point in midget hockey. But I know that last year he was 5'8". So that's 4 inches. So he's 6 foot tall. I think this guy, I don't know where he's going to be chosen. Central Scouting had him ranked as a C player, which means 4th or 5th round. I don't think that would be the case. That's going to be the case on their next list. But to me, Wyatt Cullen, don't know where he's going to be chosen, but he's really, really the type of guy that I can see overperform his rank of selection.
Very nice.
Highly, highly, highly skilled player. I love this guy. I'm going to talk about him quite a bit. So listeners, get ready. Wyatt Cullen, 1 million times before the draft. Just like I did with Trevor Connolly.
Hey, we're going to talk about him and Quentin Musty a little later on. But Wyatt Cullen, he had 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. The stat sheet matches the eye test here. So that's good stuff there. Snake, I mean, listening to, I guess, the analysts and whatnot, the people who watched the tournament, the names that really stuck out were obviously Caleb Malhotra for the CHL, but I also heard a lot about Victor Plant. I'd love to hear your thoughts on him. He's the brother of Mac, the Red Wings prospect, scored the overtime goal, had 2 goals in the tournament. What'd you think of him?
He was good. It's just that, like I say, it's hard for me to not blend, what I think of a guy and what I see at the game. So yeah, he was very, very good at the game. I'm just not him as a top prospect yet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of hockey to be played before the draft, but he's a very small player.
Mm.
So and like his brother. So I'm look, small players. I don't dislike them. I see the skill set, but I'm always concerned because most of them don't become stars in the NHL. Most of them. We talk about the exceptions very often. We love talking about the exceptions, but I look at probabilities. I also look at, is the skill set great enough that it will compensate for the fact that the guy is small?
Mm-hmm.
Like Cole Caulfield, he had an exceptional skill set. That's why he was drafted in the top 15. But most guys, Caulfield's size, if they're just a notch below him, skill level wise, they're going to be like 4th or 5th round picks. Look at LG Mooney. I like LG Mooney.
Yeah.
Drafted by the Habs, but he was a 4th round pick. Why? Because he was not Caulfield-like. He was not the Brinkat-like. So he becomes a 4th round pick. Most of them don't make it. Sometimes you have a Victor Arvidsson. Victor Arvidsson was very small, and he made it. But Victor Arvidsson was highly, highly skilled. I think had he played the junior hockey here, he would have been noticed more.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on Victor Plant. Look, some team will take a flyer on him because he is highly skilled. I'm not debating his how good he is, but he's small.
That's it. It kind of brings up the Lane Hudson, Cole Hudson situation where Lane falls to late second round. Cole also falls to the second round, but gets picked up a little higher. Now Max Plant, he was drafted, let me check here, 47th overall by the Red Wings in 2024. This year in Minnesota, he's got 26 points in 16 games.
Yeah.
Right. But he's 5'10". Right.
Yeah.
So again, it could I'm thinking maybe it could be one of those situations again where like a team is like, well, oh my God, you see what Max is doing. His brother's right there and he's pretty skilled too. Might as well take him higher. Could be that kind of situation.
Well, with Cole Hudson, who was drafted 2 years after Lane, I had him 14th overall.
Yeah,
so I had adjusted.
You were right.
I had him 14, and I think in a redraft he would probably be higher than 14th on my list. I think he's amazing. Looking forward to seeing him at the World Juniors. Although the 19-year-olds at the World Junior, I take it with a grain of salt because they're just older. They're just part of that age group. Mm-hmm. So, but last year he was very good as
excellent
as an 18-year-old last year. I think Cole will sign his contract at the end of the year. Probably will bypass the American Hockey League. Will be with the Washington Capitals at this time next year.
No doubt about it. My God, I mean, that team, they have Jacob Chychrun and John Carlson who are having incredible seasons right now, and you got Cole Hudson in the pipeline. Yeah. All right, Washington. I see you. Snake, one more player from the US NTDP that I'd like to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
And that is the goaltender, Brady Noling. Okay?
Yeah.
First game, 42 saves on 44 shots. He stole that game for the US. It's pretty clear. He was unreal.
Yeah. Again, it's one game, and goalies are very, very hard to predict. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be drafted, but I'm not sure if he really faced that many dangerous shots. Like I said, I wasn't impressed with the CHL team, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, he was good. It's one game, so I can't really... I don't have much of an opinion. Doesn't mean I don't like him. It's just that with goalies... it's really hard to tell. But it was good for his draft stock, probably.
No doubt.
because every chief scout was in attendance. They took notice, and they're probably going to scout him a little bit more before the end of the year. But at my end, I'm just going to, it's a wait and see.
Yeah.
I have a wait and see attitude with this guy.
Sounds good. Now, we're not going to spend too long on the negative side, but I think it is worth talking a little bit about the disappointments. These are the top prospects, so you kind of have expectations here. And you already mentioned Ryan Rubrek, who's kind of, unfortunately been a disappointment this season as a whole. Is there any other player that kind of left you on your appetite?
Well, I mentioned Klepov, who's been a great point producer, and also JP Herbert. So those would probably be the three main guys in the disappointment section. But I'm not going to change my opinion on a player if he underperforms in a game like this. Look, we'll see. It's just a couple of games. But it's too bad for those players because, maybe it's not a good night. We all have a bad night. All players have a bad night.
Small sample, yeah.
It's a very small sample, but it's too bad for these players because, like I say, it seems to me, and I could be totally wrong, but it seems to me that NHL teams put a lot of weight on these games because otherwise they wouldn't show up in dozens. Otherwise, and sometimes you look at the draft at the end of the year in June, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, that guy did well at that tournament, or that guy did well at that All-Star Prospects game, and I'm thinking, wow, I'd rather evaluate players in their environment, which is their own team. I like to evaluate them when they play on the road, and I like it when they play against the best teams. So give me let's say you take an Ontario Hockey League player. I want to see him on the road against a great team playing for his own team. And that's where you see the type of player that you really have. So I don't really care if a guy makes 5 points against a bottom feeder.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No,
because that's kind of why I think the NHL teams do kind of put emphasis on these sorts of tournaments because it's apples to apples, right? It's the best players against the best players. So maybe why
the problem is the age group
value there.
But the problem is the age group.
Yeah,
you're playing against players your age. I want to see them against older players, but that's why I think is good for the NTDP because the NTDP is facing tougher competition. In a game like this, vis-a-vis the USHL. So I think the benefit of a game like this is mostly for the NTDP. I like watching the NTDP when they play against college kids.
Right.
Sometimes they get clobbered, sometimes not, but it doesn't matter. I want to see how they react when they play the 20, the 21, the 22-year-olds. Because look, you're trying to evaluate these players for the NHL.
Mm.
So, and that's why the under-18 tournament it's been tricky. Matt Dumba was hitting everything, and that was moving. And he at that tournament, he was seen as a future superstar. Matt Dumba had a good career, but he was not a superstar. And look at, Kotkaniemi, who had a great under-18 tournament. Actually, he had two great under-18 tournaments, one in February, one in April. And that's where his draft stock rose. And to me, it's dangerous. Because you know what? I fell for it too. I fell for it too. I've seen players. I remember there was a guy that Habs drafted that I really, really loved. He was a Finnish guy, Joni Ikonen. Yeah, the guy was injured. Okay, the guy was injured. But I don't think he would have made it. I was like enamored with him when I saw him at the U18. And that's why I started learning lessons about the U18. Be careful. They're 17-year-olds playing against 17-year-olds. They're not playing against 20-year-olds. So I think these tournaments for me, even the World Juniors, I like the entertainment value of it. Because like you say, it's best against best. And in that sense, for as a fan, I like it. But as someone who comes up with, draft lists and everything, I take it with a grain of salt. Usually what I do is that I sit back, I relax during the holidays and I watch it. It's true. I watch it as not as
Opinion.
someone, just as a fan. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Fair.
But I don't think, if Gavin McKenna scores, 17 points and, 8 of them against, Norway or whoever's playing Kazakhstan.
Yeah. Grain of salt.
Yeah.
Grain of salt. Yeah. Well, it's well put there. And folks, let us know in the comments section if you tuned into those games, who impressed you the most. We want to hear your thoughts. Which prospect impressed you as much as Wyatt Cullen impressed Snake? We're gonna hear that name quite often. He might be Snake's prospect this year. Every single year there's one.
Yeah.
He might be that guy. So that's a lot of fun there. Snake, moving on now to the AHL. Okay.
Yeah.
We're at the quarter point of the season already.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to talk about the top rookies who are NHL prospect, the top AHL rookies this season. And we have the point totals here on the screen. Obviously, Matvei Gradin is leading the pack here with 20 points in 18 games for the Calgary Wranglers. Nick Lardis, Igor Chernyshov, Quinn Hudson, brother of Lane, Ilya Protas, Quentin Musty, Danil Butt, Tim Wash, Alex Bump, Carter Yakimchuk, Denver Barkey, Joey Larson, Jack Devine, and Gabe Perreault are your leaders in points. Now, there are other, good prospects, good rookies that aren't on the list because they haven't played as many games. One of them being Trevor Connolly, who is over a point per game. I think he's got 5 points in 4 games, something like that. But let's talk about which rookies have impressed you the most, which ones are, the most promising in your opinion.
Well, what I find interesting is that the top 7 guys on the list are 20 years old and under. They're, except for Quinn Hudson, who is a Hudson brother, by the way. He's Lane and Cole's brother.
Yeah.
I think he's been doing well, but he's a little bit older. So I don't see much of a future for him with the Oilers. But the other ones, Protas is 19 years old. Alexei's brother, also drafted by the Capitals. Gradin was in the queue last year for Shawinigan.
Yeah.
And he started the year in Calgary, scored a goal. They sent him back to the American Hockey League. Don't think it's a bad decision. He's 19. He's a top scorer amongst rookies. I think this guy who has a bright future in the NHL, one of the few bright prospects that Calgary has right now. Lardis was one of my, sleepers.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. I liked him a lot. Chicago drafted him. I think with the lack of good young forwards that they have on the team, besides Bedard and Frank Nazar, and Oliver Moore is okay also. He would have been on that list, but he was called up by Chicago. I think Lardis could have a spot on the top 6 at some point. He is a goal scorer. So a perfect compliment probably for the Blacks. 2 guys from the Sharks, Chernyshov and Musty. Chernyshov was playing with Michael Misa last year in junior hockey. He was so good. I think at some point he was on a pace for like 3-4 points per game.
Yeah.
He's been good too. He's a goal scorer also. I think it's a matter of time before he reaches the NHL and will play on the Sharks, probably top 6, if not top 9. Quentin Musty, one of my favorite players from the 2023 draft. He was drafted 26. I never understood why 25 teams passed on him. To me, it did not make sense. He is a power forward. He is very intelligent on the ice, makes some beautiful plays, can score goals too. He's a tough guy. This is another guy who should be on the top 6 in San Jose. Who knows, maybe at some point playing with Celebrini or Misa, we'll see. But it's just a matter of time before these guys reach the NHL. Same with Protas in Washington. He's going to join his brother, same style as his brother. Daniel Butt, not yet in Utah, but shouldn't take long. Big, huge guy. and he skates well for a huge guy, honestly. I like, and he's a goal scorer too. I think it was a good pick by Utah or Arizona at the time, 12th overall in the 2023 draft. And so that pretty much rounds out the top 7. Other guys a little bit older, but Carter Yakimchuk, we've seen him with the Senators a bit. I think it's a matter of time before the Senators call him up, but they might give him a year in the AHL to develop. He's a defenseman. Gabe Perreault was very good in the AHL, called up by the Rangers, played a few games, not ready yet. But nevertheless, a good prospect. I liked him a lot when he was playing with Will Smith and Ryan Leonard.
Oh, what a line.
Boston. It was a fantastic line for the U.S. program and for Boston College. I remember I saw Perreault live in person last year with Leonard and James Higgins.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very, very good. Now, before we talk about the goalies or the goalie, let's talk about Trevor Connolly.
Yeah.
5 points in 5 games. I watched all his games. This guy was, one of my favorite prospects of the last 10 years. I think he's highly underrated in the sense that, he was picked 19. I know there were some off-ice incidents. Maybe that contributed. But he's gotten stronger now. He's 20 pounds stronger than he was in his first training camp, was injured. The guy can make plays at high speed. Not many guys in the NHL can make plays at high speed. I don't know how many there are, but there are not that many.
No.
And he's one of them. He's an effortless skater. He drives the net. I think he just needs more experience now. A year in the AHL will be great for him. Much better than, he was Vegas himself, his agent, whatever, were criticized because when he left Providence last year, because they said, he needs another year in college and blah, blah, blah. Look, I saw Providence live. He wasn't there. He was injured, unfortunately, when I went. But Providence is not good at developing offensive players with their style of play. So I think that probably contributed to his decision of going to the AHL, and it was a great decision. He had 4 points in 6 games last year at the end of the year. Right now he's doing well, and I'm very, very happy.
Yeah.
Now the goalies.
The goalie.
Yeah, there's a couple of goalies doing very well. Simon Zazicek and Isaac Porsche, but they're 24 and 23. Okay, so I know goalies develop late. I'm not saying they're not going to be good. Their average goals per game is under 2. So I'm fine with them. We've seen Zanicek with the Boston Bruins farm team. But the top guy is Jacob Fowler. Really.
Easily.
Yeah, easily. 918 saves percentage, 2.10 goals average. He just turned 21, I think, a few days ago. So for a goalie in the AHL, he's very, very young. So I think he's right up there, and he's going to be obviously one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year in the AHL, along with, Gridin. But you never know with Rookie of the Year in the AHL because these guys might get called up.
That's it.
If Gridin gets called up and he only plays 25 games, he's not going to win. So I wouldn't bet a dime on AHL Rookie of the Year because you never know.
No, that's it.
But Fowler, I think, has been great. Some people have been calling for him to be called up. Look, no, it's okay. It's okay. I know Habs goalies have not been very good recently, but we'll see. At least wait another couple of months. Wait until after the holidays, I would think, if you ever consider calling him up. But don't know what the Habs have in mind for him. They probably didn't want. Their plan in September was certainly not to call him up.
No. I don't think it makes sense either.
So that pretty much rounds out the AHL rookies. We're going to revisit this probably at the halfway mark of the season. Some of them might have graduated at some point, but it's always fun. I like the AHL is getting younger and younger. I like it. There's an 18-year-old player, Ivan Ryadkin,
Right.
Carolina chose to send him to the AHL instead of sending him to Charlottetown in the queue. He has 6 assists, no goals in 14 games. Look, he's 18 years old. Highly talented guy, but not very engaged on the ice, let's say. That's why he fell to the second round last year.
Yeah, that's it. That was the main criticism ahead of his draft. So still on brand. Snake, now this next player is no longer an AHL rookie, but he is an NHL rookie now. Adam Engstrom has made the jump. We don't know for how long, but he's made it. He took his rookie lap yesterday in Utah. He played his first game. Let's talk about it. What did you see from him? Didn't play that much.
No, 10 minutes.
But still.
Look, he was. What I did is that obviously I watched the game last night, but this morning I went back to just his shifts. I want to see his shifts. Didn't play much in the third period, especially towards the end when the Habs were trying to, protect their lead. I'll tell you what I liked about him. Very often rookies, as good as they are, seem very, very nervous the first time they hit the ice. Engstrom was like, it's like he didn't realize that he was in the NHL.
Yeah.
He wasn't nervous at all. He was very self-confident, I would say. He didn't make any great plays, or he didn't try anything crazy, trying to carry the puck to the other end. He did not try any of that. He had a couple of shots on goal. But I liked that he didn't get in trouble. He made a couple of nice passes. He was aggressive along the board a couple of times. And look, for someone who doesn't know that he's a rookie or doesn't follow the Habs, you don't notice him, okay? But it's a good thing.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was a good thing that we didn't notice him. So I'm happy. I think he's NHL caliber. I think it's a matter of time before he gets a full-time job with the Habs. Don't know how many minutes per game, but I've been intrigued about him since he was drafted. Very glad he made it to the NHL as a third-round pick. It's a bonus. When you get a third-round pick who can make it and maybe play 200, 300, 400 games, it's very, very good. We'll see if this happens with Engstrom, but so far, so good. Hopefully he plays one of the games this weekend. They're going to be tough games against Colorado and Vegas. He might play against Colorado, might not play against Vegas. I don't know if they're going to put Xhekaj against Vegas, but I'm happy, and I understand they didn't call up Reinbacher because Reinbacher, I think, just want to. He's getting better and better in the AHL right now, and just leave him there. I think Engstrom was more like ready to be called up because he played last year. He hasn't missed time this year, and he's tough. He's a tough guy, this Engstrom.
He was dominating. I mean, you know, let's put the cards on the table here. He was too good for the AHL.
And he's 22. He's 22, so now is the time for him.
Yeah,
now is the time. Defensemen, at the age of 22, they got to start showing something. So he's right up there on the timeline.
That's it. Now, Snake, there are two others who started the season with the Laval Rocket who are now with the Montreal Canadiens temporarily or permanently. And I want to ask you about them. Two forwards, Florian Xhekaj, Jared Davidson. Davidson took a nasty little penalty there after Utah's goal. Didn't really get to see the replay. I don't know what he did per se, but what have you thought about their games? Again, not much ice time, but have they shown that they are ready for the NHL, or would more seasoning do them well?
Look, veterans will always have coaches will always prioritize veterans. And especially when you're talking about, Davidson and Xhekaj are not up-and-coming superstars. That's what I mean. They're not part of the list of, top rookies or anything. So I think they will go back to Laval at some point. But with all the long-term injuries that the Habs have, this is a great opportunity for him to show something. And Florian, I think could make it. Could he have a career? It's possible. As a bottom six guy. And Davidson also is showing toughness. He was a good goal scorer in Laval, but time is kind of like running out on him because he's 23. The thing with a guy like Davidson is he has to find his identity in the NHL.
That's it.
So he's not going to be a goal scorer in the NHL. But if he can play hard on a bottom six, he has a chance. But for now, I prefer Florian to Davidson because he's 2 years younger. So I think if you told me that only one of the two is going to make it, I would say it's Florian.
So, by the time of this recording, we don't know what the lineup will look like for the Habs against the Vegas Golden Knights. But we can assume that Alexandre Texier could make his debut with the team as soon as tomorrow night. Who do you take out for him?
Well, look, he was claimed off waivers from a very bad team. And like I said on Monday, I watched his last few games. I think he doesn't bring much to the table. He's going to have, I think he's just filling a hole right now, and because the Habs didn't feel that they wanted to call up, Owen Beck or I don't know, Farrell or Michar. So they signed a guy who had NHL experience. I think he's fast. He has good hands. So sometimes he might make a play or two that will create a buzz. But overall, to me, this is not an 82 game per year type of guy who can contribute. So what you're expecting is just maybe a few goals and not getting into trouble and until the other guys come back.
Fair enough. Plugging a hole. Well, moving along now, I think it's time we give a big thank you, of course, to our partners who make this show possible. I want to start off with our friends over at Cheapest T-Shirts. It's simple, people. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They are proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices, plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And, of course, don't select the bust with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. All right, we're bringing it back this week. My favorite segment. It's time for Snake's Hot Take. I know we teased it a little bit at the start of the show there, but I do believe this take revolves around a certain captain of the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
I just a little preamble here. I started watching the Oilers in the 80s with Wayne Gretzky, Paul Coffey, and Mark Messier and company. And we didn't see as many games on TV as we do today, but every time they came to the Forum, I was always going to see them. I tuned in during the playoffs. And there was even one year that I lived in New Brunswick. For some reason, the cable company had ITV, which was an Edmonton TV station, and most of the games were on. So to me, they were probably my favorite sports team of all time, the 80s Oilers. Mm-hmm. The show was like unbelievable, and I think they did change hockey the way it was played, because if you look at clips from the 70s and then you look at the Oilers, it's night and day. The Habs were great in the 70s, but they were a more traditional team. The Edmonton Oilers came with the crisscrossing, and John Muckler, the assistant coach, he brought from Russia he went to Russia, he studied how they played, and he brought him a big European flavor to the Oilers. They were spectacular. They were winning 8-5. I mean, you won't see this again, not the way hockey is played now, but it was fun. Now, that being said, the Oilers went pretty much unnoticed for a good 15, 20 years, except their 2006 Cinderella year, where they reached the finals. And then at some point in 2010, they decided to rebuild. They got 3 number 1 overall picks in a row: Taylor Hall, Neil Yakubov, Ryan Nugent Hopkins. So that revived my interest in the Oilers, because I said, could they duplicate the 80s team? Mm-hmm. Although I didn't really believe it was possible, I thought they had an opportunity to build something. Unfortunately, they made bad signings, they made bad trades. GMs were being fired one after the other. But they got to draft Leon Draisaitl in 2014. And then they win the lottery in 2015.
That's the lottery to win.
Yeah, the lottery. Probably the biggest. The lottery has been around for 30 years. That was the biggest lottery ever. And now they got Peter Chiarelli as the GM. He had won the Stanley Cup in Boston 4 years before, had just been fired. And then Chiarelli started thinking, okay, we need to get more tough, and started making these weird trades to get Griffin Reinhart and trading Taylor Hall for Adam Larson. And you're thinking, okay, it's like, what the heck are you doing, buddy? And Neil Yakubov was a total bust. So that didn't help. So again, it was hard for the Oilers once McDavid got here. They made the playoffs in 2017. I think they won 1 series. And then they went back to missing the playoffs over and over and over, until they reached the finals for 2 years in a row, 24 and 25. They came close, but Florida was a better team.
Yeah.
And so in a way, it's a success. I mean, how many teams are going to reach those twice in a row? So I'm not criticizing, it was disappointing not to have won the Stanley Cup from during the after that rebuild and that lottery win, but at least they reached the finals a couple times. Now, last year they made a big mistake. You remember when they signed Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson for a total of $70 million, and that money could have gone to Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. And when St. Louis saw that Edmonton was in trouble cap-wise, they jumped on it.
Yep.
And the orders didn't match. I don't know if they tried to make trades to get rid of salary. I would have traded Evan Bouchard, by the way, at the time, to be able to get rid of salary. I don't know what the NHL thinks of Evan Bouchard, but I think that although he's a big point producer, he's very good for poolers, fantasy hockey. But on the ice, he's totally disinterested in his own zone. And I don't understand why they re-signed him for 10.5. With Darnell Nurse at 9.5, that's $20 million to me. That's like, oh boy, this is not really well used.
Yeah.
The Habs are going to be paying $19 million for Dobson and Hudson. So, guess who I would take first. So all this to say that they're at a crossroads now. McDavid re-signed for 12.5 for 2 more years, which is an incredible discount. But when he reaches free agency at the age of 31, he's not going to sign a discounted contract. I don't think so.
No chance.
So the salary cap will be much higher. He could get over $12 million. He might just get it. With the new rules, it would be 7 years with the Oilers and 6 years with another team. So that would take him to either the age of 37 or 38. McDavid's game is based on speed. Will he remain as fast until the end of his career? He makes plays at high intensity. Will he be able to remain like this? And if he doesn't, will he be able to adjust his game and still be a 90, 100-point player? We don't know. No one knows. But so far, he's been amazing. So my take of the week is, at the end of the year, if the Edmonton Oilers don't get back on track, and I know they say, oh, you got to get a goalie. I know the goalie has been a problem.
It's been more than that, though.
For like 15 years. Well, at least 10 years since McDavid's been there. I know it's been a problem. The point is, they have no prospects left. They have traded draft picks away. Some of their players are getting older. You know, Nugent Hopkins is 32. Draisaitl just turned 30. And the defensive core is not like great. So are they going to win within the next couple of years? The last 2 years of McDavid's contract? And if they don't, he's going to walk away and they're going to lose him for zero.
Yeah.
And now they're going to have Draisaitl, bunch of guys, middle of the pack, probably closer to the bottom type of team, and they're going to have another rebuild. So the question is, at the end of the year, should they just trade McDavid with
Get the value
contract at 12.5? He would have incredible value. I'm sure there would be like at least 7 to 10 teams in the NHL who would bid for his services because for 2 years. And 2 years, look, if you can win 2 cups, who cares if he walks away? And I think the Oilers could get a truckload
of course,
players and picks for this guy. Just with Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky was a different story at the time. He was 1 year away from free agency, but also they didn't want to pay him. So that was a different story in terms of money, and they got money for him, which is not allowed anymore. But they still got, at the time, a 19-year-old Jimmy Carson, who was a 55 goal scorer, age of 19, which is a record that still stands in the NHL. So could the Oilers expect something like this? You know, I don't think they're going to be able to trade him to the Sharks and get Celebrini in return. That's not what I'm saying. Because obviously a team that will trade for McDavid will try to keep its core intact.
Of course. It's a team that has a lot of futures.
That's what you have to look for. So I would consider it at the end of the year. I know if there are Edmonton fans listening to me, it's probably, you know, sacrilegious to say that.
Yeah.
But look, the last 2 years, they didn't start out very well. They got back on track. They reached the finals. So maybe what I'm saying today basically doesn't mean anything. But this year, I'm not sure they'll get back on track.
They look horrible. They look horrible, Snake.
Don't like the team. And, you know, it's killing me to say that because I like McDavid. I wanted them to win with the Oilers. And I have a friend of mine who's like a diehard Edmonton fan. And we were discussing it this week. And he agreed with me. And he said, I think they, you know, that ship has sailed. They missed the boat. And they should look for, you know, to get something for McDavid. Otherwise, they're gonna go back to the basement. You know, they're gonna be bottom feeders for another 10, 15 years. And that's what it is. It's too bad, but yeah, that's my take of the week.
Talk about a catastrophic failure, Snake. You have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on the same team in their prime together, and you can't win a cup.
Because Crosby and Malkin won 3.
Catastrophic failure. If happens,
Pittsburgh won 3 with the same kind of duo.
Man, that would be horrible.
Yeah. But look, 2 finals is very good. 2 finals is good, but
no rings.
I'm looking into no wins. I'm looking into the future because I don't think McDavid will stay. That's why I'm saying this.
I wouldn't. Like, you know, you're the best player alive, and you're getting no help. The team is a crapshoot.
And he's going to be 31. You know, father time catches up to all the best players in the world. So he's going to be 31. Look, if he were 26, I would say, no. Re-sign him and try and reload and try and make trades because right now the Oilers have nothing to trade. Even if they want to get that goalie or that great defenseman or a great first, they're just getting players from the scrap heap, you know. And okay, Roslovic has been good, but you know, if he scores 25, 30 goals, he's going to ask for more money next year. Another trade that I mentioned that really went under the radar. I know it was again cap related. It was, I don't know why they did it. Ryan McLeod for Matthew Savoy. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Ryan McLeod is a great supporting player. He's fast. He's energetic. He can score a few goals. Matthew Savoy, I think, is not that great of a prospect anymore.
Yeah.
So, look, 3 GMs, Peter Chiarelli, Ken Hollins, and Bowman, 3 guys who had won the Stanley Cup. I think this falls on the owner's shoulders. Okay, it's his tendency to just go for GMs who have won the Cup. And we see it now. And these guys have been, to an extent, a failure, to an extent. You know, Holland gave Nurse that horrible contract.
Oh.
Thanks to Kent Hughes. Nurse is a rich man. For those who don't know, Kent Hughes was Nurse's agent. And it shows how good of a negotiator he is, because Nurse never deserved 9.5. Even and at the time, 9.5 was a lot of money for the
yeah.
Never deserved it. So it's been very disappointing for Oilers fans, and I think it at the end of the year could be time to move on.
That would be crazy, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility, Snake. Before we get to our mailbag, we're recording this at around 2 p.m. here on Thursday, and it was just announced that the Montreal Canadiens have reclaimed Samuel Blais from waivers.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
It's hilarious. That's hilarious. I mean, given the injuries, it actually does make sense. But it's just funny. This guy just goes for a cup of coffee in Toronto and comes back. So that's a bit of news to talk about, I guess.
Look, do you think he's going to be... I think they're allowed to send him back to Laval, aren't they?
That's only if there's no other teams that put in a claim.
Okay. So
and
we'll see.
I don't see anywhere any that information. So I don't know if he is eligible. Oh, yes, he is. Okay. Thank you to Nicolas Cloutier, who is a collaborator sometimes on the SIG podcast. He did say that he can clear waivers.
Good.
No other team put in a claim.
Okay, so he's probably going to go to Laval, but it's a good insurance policy. He's a tough guy, and he had some good moments with the Blues. So no, not a bad idea. I don't think they necessarily wanted to lose him. I was surprised that they didn't they put him through waivers in the first place, because they had one roster spot, didn't they? And they chose not to use it on him. We'll see. Look, tough guy. What can I say?
It all worked out. All worked out in the end. All right. Let's end the show off on a good note. Let's go digging in the mailbag. And our question today comes from Le Mental de Duval. I'm really enjoying the show, boys. Keep up the great work. We thank you. We appreciate you. Question for you, Snake and Shane. While McKenna might not be on Celebrini's level, it's also true that the NCAA is a lot stronger this year than it was 2 years ago when Celebrini played. Would you agree that the new rules allowing top 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from the CHL to join the NCAA have made the league significantly more competitive? And do you think that could help explain McKenna's tough start, especially when you compare it to how dominant he looked in the WHL last year? Interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective because, yes, the NCAA has become stronger because you do have players like Cole Reshney, for instance, who went to North Dakota at the age of 18. He would not have been eligible to do so. Justin Poirier went to Maine. Caden Lindstrom went to Michigan State. So these guys would have been playing junior hockey this year under the previous rules. Now, that being said, I don't think that would explain why McKenna is not as dominant as Celebrini was.
Yeah.
Because, a few players can help enhance the caliber of play, but not to the point where McKenna would be so overwhelmed by playing in the NCAA. I think the thing with Gavin McKenna is just that, had he played in the WHL and scored like 180 points or something, no one would have this conversation, but they should have, because McKenna would have been playing basically his fourth season in the WHL, because he played at age 15. Not a full season, but he played. So, look, McKenna so far, he's shown skills. He's very, very good with the puck. And there's a lack of challengers, really. Verhoff, I like. Stenberg, I like a lot. Ian Belchez, that's one guy who wasn't like, you were talking about disappointments on those games, the CHL games. He's one of them. It's going to be hard for them to challenge him. But will McKenna become the best player of the bunch? There's no certainty anymore. Because he plays on the periphery. He's not a big, strong guy. And all his puck handling skills are amazing. But that's not enough. He's not the fastest guy. He's a good skater, but he's not the fastest guy. He's a winger. He's not a center. So he won't necessarily drive a line. I think that the concerns, I started raising them at the Memorial Cup last year when I saw him live. So I'm not shocked at the fact that he's not being dominant in the NCAA. And it has nothing to do with the caliber of play. Because normally he should be, if he's a dominant player, put Celebrini in the NCAA this year, but at the age of 17, I think he would have been the same dominant player.
Yeah.
And McKenna is even a few months younger than Celebrini was when he played in Boston. Older. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, older, because McKenna is turning 18 in December, whereas Celebrini only turned 18 the following summer.
Yeah.
So look, there are some guys who are almost the same age as McKenna. Will Horkoff from Michigan, who's been amazing. He just turned 18, and he was drafted by Pittsburgh. So it's the only thing that I wonder is, could McKenna have been better playing for another team? I think Penn State has a good team, but it's not really the way they play. Maybe is not ideal for him. Their style of play. And maybe if he had gone to Michigan State, it would have been different.
Ooh.
But again, I have doubts about McKenna becoming a superstar, really big doubts. But who will show up on the podium next June and not take him?
Yeah. Gotta have some balls to do that.
Yeah, because unless there's a guy who really, really, really shows that he's going to be better, could be Stenberg, could be Verhoff. But if they don't, in case of doubt, they're going to take McKenna.
Yeah, that's it. Go with the safe one.
Look, we saw it with Neil Yakupov. We saw it with Nolan Patrick, who was picked second. And these guys, they were red flags. But teams chose to ignore them because it's like, well, we cannot not choose him.
Yeah.
And that's how I wouldn't want to have the number one pick this year. I wouldn't want to win the lottery.
Oh.
I'd rather give me number
coming in with the second hot take of the day. Damn.
Give me number two. Give me number two.
Oh, wow.
But look, I have balls, okay? So if I was allowed by the owner, because ownership plays a big role in this, but if I was allowed by the owner and I found that another guy is better than McKenna in my book, I would take the other guy. I wouldn't mind the booze.
Yeah.
But ownership is going to have a say in this thing. Big time.
Sure.
Big time. Sure. Just like Neil Yakupov, it was supposedly the Edmonton Oilers owner who made the pick. Okay, mind you, their staff wanted Ryan Murray. But I wanted Phil Forsberg, by the way. That
would have been the right
yeah,
pick.
yeah.
Imagine if they'd taken Vasilevsky, though. There you go. There's your standout.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go. Look, maybe 15 years earlier, they could have taken Vasilevsky because goalies in the early 2000s, teams did not back off from picking them 1 or 2 or 3. But come 2012, I mean, that ship had sailed. So goalies were not picked very high anymore. So, so I hope I answered it well. I don't think it's the caliber of play, although it is better now. It's just McKenna being McKenna with the limitations that come with his play.
That's it. Well, hopefully we answered the questioner's question adequately. And please send in your questions. We read the chat. We want to hear from you, and we want to interact as well. We want to answer your questions on the show. We take one every show, sometimes more if we feel like it. If there are too many good ones that we can't skip, this is our show. We make the rules, okay? Sometimes we'll do 1, sometimes we'll do 3. It's up to you guys. You guys got to put in the questions. So, Snake, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, I'm going to Boston tomorrow to see Michael Hage and Michigan for 2 games. So scouting reports on many, many, many good players on Monday.
Excellent. Well, you know what to do, people. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you are notified when we do upload a new episode on Monday. We're going to be talking about Michael Hage and a whole lot more. That's usually our Habs show. So for all our Habs fans, that's what you got to do. Okay. So thank you to Snake. Thank you to Sammy and Yellow back at Master Control. I'm producer Shane. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Happy Thanksgiving to all our American followers, and we will see you all on Monday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.